I'll entertain a motion to come back from recess.
Motion.
That was quick, all right. I'll just pick. Motion made by Commissioner Peredola, second by Commissioner Ady. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Okay, we are now back in regular session. We move to agenda item number 11. We have Ms. Evelyn Huron, our county attorney's office, discuss, take action on county negotiation with sale of certain property.
Make a motion to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Second. Okay, motion made by Commissioner King, seconded by Commissioner Martin. Do we have any other discussion regarding agenda item number 11? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Ayes have it, motion passes. Move to agenda item number 12, is Brenda Trevino, County Auditor, discuss, take action on resolution of Violence Against Women Act 301-5410.
Okay, the VAWA grant, which is the Violence Against Women's Act, is grant number 301-5410. I have a resolution here, and I'm going to read it, Judge, if that's okay,
Yes, please.
and then I'll explain to you what it is. Resolution number 2025-2026, whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court finds it in the best interest of the citizens of Wilson County that the Violent Crimes Against Women Restorative Justice Team be operated for 2025 to 2026. Whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court agrees to provide applicable matching funds for the said project as required by the Violence Against Women Act grant program. And whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court agrees that in the event of loss or misuse of the Office of the Governor funds, assure that the funds will be returned to the Office of the Governor in full. And whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court designates Brenda Trevino, County Auditor, as their authorized official to apply for, accept, alter, or terminate the grant on behalf of the applicant agency. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wilson County Commissioners Court approves submission of the grant application for the Violent Crimes Against Women Restorative Justice Team to the Office of the Governor of Texas Criminal Justice Division, passed on this and approved by Commissioners Court of Wilson County in Floresville, Texas on this 28th day of April 2025. So I sit on the CJAC, which is the Criminal Justice Committee for ACOG, and we received many applicants. Wilson County was one of them, and the application was written by Kayla Prado, our grant coordinator, and was actually presented by Ms. Evelyn. And we are being recommended for funding for this grant at $89,000 and some change. So that becomes effective, I believe it's August the 1st, and runs through September 30th of next year. This is a continuation grant. It's a grant that we've received in the past, but it is at higher funding, and this covers Ms. Christina Macias-Quintanilla, who's our victim coordinator, victim crime coordinator here for Wilson County.
If I may also, that grant was very well written by Kayla. We did get, and it affects the county attorney's office because it does fund the services we provide for VAWA. And we did get a favorable review and came in, I think, second out of all the others. So I believe that we will get a favorable decision to get this grant. So thank you to Brenda and her staff, because they did a really good job in writing the details of the needs of this county, and we ranked really high with it. So just wanted to say that.
Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion on agenda item number 12.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the violence against women related to grant number 301-5410.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner King. Do we have any other discussion on agenda item number 12? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Ayes have it, motion passes. Agenda item number 13, again, we have our county auditor, Brenda Trevino, discuss, take action on approving the Wilson County Fraud, Waste, and Abuse Policy.
Okay, this fraud, waste, and abuse policy that I wrote came about because we were awarded a grant through Savins and Vine, which is a victims service notification system that is used by our sheriff's department and our victim service coordinator as well. In review of, we had a desk review of that grant, and one of the items that they are requiring is that we have a policy specifically related to fraud, waste, and abuse. So I wrote this, I did provide each of you a copy. It is, it's about a two-pager. I don't know if you want, Judge, do you want me to read it, or?
I've read it.
I've read it.
Y'all want it read?
Okay, and basically, just for transparency, what it states is that the purpose is that Wilson County is committed to safeguarding public resources and ensuring ethical conduct in all county operations. This policy aims to prevent, detect, and address instances of fraud, waste, and abuse involving county employees, officials, contractors, vendors, and any other parties engaged with the county. And then this can also be found, we'll post this on our website on the auditor's page, and copy can be provided to anyone who requests it as well.
So going forward, all contractors are just contractors that are related to certain things?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, what was the question?
Which contractors are gonna be required to sign off?
No,
or be
this
made
would
aware
not
of it?
be, this would not be a requirement for contractors to sign. I'm just stating that if anyone wanted to have a copy of review of the county's policy related to fraud and waste, they could request a copy of it from my office.
Is there a reason that it can't be reported to the county attorney's office?
Or the sheriff. I mean,
But it
Look-
does have law enforcement in there.
I mean, I guess it technically, it could. Typically, fraud cases would be, the auditor is notified, or the state auditor. So this template came from Savins. It's a template that's pretty generic, and so it's applicable to whatever the county wants to update it with. And so I just updated it with auditor's information, the Texas State Auditor's line, and then Texas Health and Human Services Office of the Inspector General as well.
If I may, I reviewed it, and what I was looking for was enforcement also. And it does provide for disciplinary action and enforcement for anyone found, certainly any employee of a county found to be involved in any kind of waste, fraud, or abuse, that they would be subject to disciplinary action and law enforcement. So that would be a referral to our office. So I did review, and I do believe that would allow for it
And
to come to
typically,
our
that's
office.
how any instances that are brought to my attention, my first contact is the county attorney's office anyway, so.
what was the organization that you got the template from?
Savins Vine, or the office of the governor.
Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion for approval on agenda item number 19.
I'll make a motion to approve the Wilson County Fraud, Waste, and Abuse Policy.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner King, seconded by Commissioner Cardillo. Do we have any other discussion on agenda item number 13?
Yes. So, we all saw this Friday, and it sounds like there's a template that is in place from the governor's office. But I had some questions that I wanted to be able to sit down with the county attorney's office and go over, because it talks about different things: careless or negligent expenditure of county funds, or misuse of county resources. Examples: unnecessary purchases, inefficient use of resources, improper maintenance leading to equipment damage. So who determines that? Because everything there, I think that you can talk to one county official and they have a need to do things that might be a little bit different because of the location that they're dealing with as far as their precinct. And I may be reading too much into this because I don't know who this applies to, but it sounds like it's gonna apply to everybody. Every single person that works for Wilson County is gonna fall underneath this envelope.
That is correct. And typically what happens when there is any type of issue that is brought forth to me as I do my investigation, if I deem it necessary to pull in, if it's something that I can't do an audit for, go out and audit whatever the situation may be, I'll pull in the county attorney's office. Evelyn and I and Ms. Nettles and I will sit down and we'll review all of the details that we've received. And then at that point, it's up to the county attorney's office to determine those types of things and let me know how I need to move forward and whether I need to continue an audit, present an audit to Commissioners Court, whether it is anything that has to be given to the Sheriff's Department. All of that's from a legal standpoint, that is at the recommendation of the county attorney's office, not mine. So to answer your question, the decision would come from the county attorney's office on how to move forward because that is their place to do that. And then at their recommendation, it would be brought before the court.
Yeah, and I want to say, yeah, it needs to be reported to the county attorney, but if you look at these specific violations here, they fall in the felony range and that would be in this auditor's department. So I'm sure that could be coordinated. If we find that, it goes over to Ms. Lewis's office.
If it's
Right.
determined that the infraction borders on a felony and there's evidence to support that, then yes, it would be referred to the district attorney's office. I think also there's oversight when we do the budget every year as to every department and whether expenditures are necessary or they're considered wasteful. There is a review of the budget, I think, when that comes around yearly for each department head to certainly be mindful of their spending and whether or not their spending may be wasteful. It may not be criminal, but it certainly would not be efficient, and I think that's reviewed also.
And under definitions, fraud, right there. I agree with it 100%. Abuse, right there, agree with it, okay? What we have here, those things, I believe fraud is correctly defined and abuse is. But under waste, I'm telling you that is in the eye of the beholder because I have people that have different needs depending on where they live in the precinct. And I'm using my office only in this, but,
And then,
I mean,
so then that would be dependent on you as a commissioner, if a situation were to arise related to that, for you to be able to give that explanation to our county attorney's office. That would not, and then she and/or our district attorney, et cetera, would have to make the determination on whether or not it was, because the definition is the careless or negligent expenditure of county funds or misuse of county resources. So if they were to deem that, yes, it was, even after your explanation, then that would have to be something that is handled with their office. So we can't answer your question right now because we don't have that type of scenario. It's going to be if a case is brought to my attention or to the attention of our county or district attorney for us to review.
I think also what started this is that there are certain grants now that require this. If you're gonna be applying for grants, we wanna know that your organization is gonna be efficient in detecting proper use of grant money, and it's not gonna be used, to buy lunch every day for everyone that's working, or
Exactly, because
something like that.
under waste, what else falls under that definition is unnecessary purchases, inefficient use of resources, and improper maintenance leading to equipment damage. So again, those would be the defining factors of anything that would be in question for us to review. And if you're able to answer those honestly and ethically, then there shouldn't be an issue with it.
So how are we gonna roll this training out?
What training?
Well, I mean, if we're adopting this policy, then it needs to get into the county
I would-
policy manual, and it needs, it's gonna need some training, because a lot of people aren't gonna understand this, or, I really don't think just, here, sign that you received this, they're not gonna read it. I mean, I know it's their responsibility to read it, but I think this is a serious enough issue that we need to have we can incorporate it with something else we're doing. I'm not saying we need to have a special training, but
Sure.
I think people need to be made aware of it, and they need to understand it.
100% agree, and Ms. Evelyn also recommended that we consider making this part of the employee policy manual, that would be something that would be your decision to make. And I'd also, this would also be sent out to all elected officials as well, so I would expect that the elected officials, be able to share it with their employees and make them understand what it means. I mean, I certainly don't mind holding a training to help people understand that, but,
Yeah, because they have a responsibility.
mhm.
It may not, number one, this tells them that they shouldn't be doing this, and these are the things they should be thinking about in their daily job. But if they see it, then they need to be able to understand it and know how to report it and feel comfortable reporting it.
I certainly don't mind if you think it would be beneficial for me to either go to multiple offices or have a public, couple hour, 4 hour
I mean,
training or
I
however
don't
long
know.
it takes. I
But
don't wanna do
don't we
it.
have some other HR type training that we need to get done sometime?
We could reach out to TAC and see if it's something that they would be willing to go across. I don't know.
Well, I don't know that TAC would, yeah, I don't think, but I think what he's asking is if we could do it in conjunction with
Right.
HR training.
Because, this is really a 10 or 15-minute subject.
Yeah.
But
Which can easily be explained by every elected official and department head. I mean, you
But,
give them,
but they get that person's explanation, not one, whoever
That's
that
unbiased,
person is,
correct.
that everybody heard the same thing. That's the
Right.
problem with putting that training down.
Sure.
Because there's no standard or guideline.
Mhm.
It's not like CPR training.
I would agree with that.
Whether you're a CPR instructor, you're a CPR instructor. You can teach anybody. And it's all done to the same standard. Everybody knows the same thing.
I think all employees at minimum should get a copy of this.
Yeah.
The one that bothers me would concern the commissioners the most, and I'm talking on behalf of them, is that improper maintenance leading to equipment damage. We have somebody that accidentally puts DEF in the wrong place in a pickup truck and blows the engine. It wasn't intentional. It's costly though. Or if somebody accidentally puts gasoline in a maintainer
Or, yeah,
and it ruined the
or
engine.
diesel in a gas truck.
Diesel in truck, so that's the only one that pops out to me right now, that we need, I think the workers need to have some scenarios to where they're just obviously neglectful, because there's gonna be mistakes made on machinery, and it's not on purpose.
Would you like me to remove the line from the improper maintenance leading to equipment damage from the policy?
Well, I agree with what he said, but the thing is if I assign someone to, this piece of equipment is your responsibility to maintain, then I expect them to maintain it. If they don't, then that fits into here. But if, like you said, if you just have a maintenance plan and nobody takes it as their direct responsibility, well, you can't really, you couldn't prove intent anyway, I don't guess, Judge. There's no criminal intent there. It's like, you're just gonna say, well, my boss never told me to change the oil in that thing,
Well, plus, as commissioners or your foreman, whoever it is, our job is to make sure our guys that we hire know where to put DEF, know where to put gasoline, know where to put hide fluid. So it's kind of hard to put that back on an individual whenever it's my job for what we call OJT, on-the-job training, right? So that falls back on my shoulders. That's why I'm responsible for what I do and what my guys do, okay? So, no, I would leave that line in there. I'd leave it alone.
And I would also refer to number 7 on the consequences of violations. It doesn't say that they will be immediately terminated. That is subject to investigation. And just like anything else, it's based on review, and in that particular scenario, it would be up to the elected official or to any commissioner to determine what disciplinary action, if any, needed to be conducted.
Correct.
In that type of case. So this is a general policy stating, this is what we need to be looking for, this is how you report it, this is what will be done when it's reported, and this is what could happen once the investigation is completed. And that's what the Office of Governor is looking for, that we have something implemented. This goes along with the financial policies that we adopted a couple of years ago. That's about 8 pages long. And this is just in addition to that. But I certainly am open to any changes that you want to do. I do need to provide them a copy of this. They wanted the date that it was going to be presented in Commissioners Court along with a copy of it. So if there are any changes, I welcome any recommended changes to be discussed now so that I can make those changes and we can approve the policy so that I can submit it.
Commissioner King, you want to amend that to include that we research TAC to see if they can provide a class for this?
Yeah, I'll amend my motion and make a motion to,
Table it until the next session and us review that?
I don't think we need to table it. We just need to have the
just
training.
need training wise.
I would, may I make a recommendation, Judge?
Sure.
I would recommend that if you're going to make a motion to include training, we can certainly reach out to TAC, but I don't believe TRAC offers training related to.
On our policy.
On our own policy. We can provide the training as requested by Commissioners Court within our county, but as part of TAC's risk management pool, they're going to train on human resources and accident prevention and safety.
Before you do your motion, I still have discussion. Because another thing that we didn't discuss, the scope, so it looks like your office is gonna be on point on this. Under the scope, it talks about policy applies to all county employees, elected officials, contractors, vendors, consultants, any individuals or entities conducting business with Wilson County. So we pass this today, you're gonna go to every single person that we do business with, and you're gonna send them this scope. And then if we find new vendors to work for Wilson County, you're gonna send them this scope as well. This fraud, waste, and abuse policy, sorry.
Are you asking me, would you like me to send a copy to every vendor that the county uses?
I mean, there,
We can.
a lot of this is already in law, and I recognize that, I mean, there are ways that we conduct ourselves that the state of Texas has said, this is the way you're gonna conduct yourself or else. But, you know, if they're gonna do business with us, they're gonna need to immediately know that here's the way that we're gonna take and do business.
So we don't typically provide all of our policies to every vendor that we have. Ms. Huron, is because if the county has adopted policies, would that not mean a vendor would be, if a vendor agrees to do business with the county without them having copies of every policy the county has, would they be held subject to accepting the policy even if they don't have a copy?
Yeah, well, every vendor, as long as they are advised that they have to adhere to county policies, including this one, then they are bound by that as well.
Put it on the website and tell them they need to
Yeah,
take it.
but I mean, I think what she just said is if we're gonna adopt this, then we need to inform them that this policy has been adopted and is now, if they have a contract, then it's included as part of the contract,
Right.
you know? I think and that's what I was asking a while
And that's
ago.
gonna be hard to do because the contracts that we have in place with the ones that we have to go out for procurement purposes, like fuel, material and hauling, we've got those contacts. It's as simple as emailing a copy to them to say, you know, include this. If I'm not mistaken, and I'll have to go back and double check, but I do believe that we have verbiage in our bid packets that relate to Wilson County policies and procedures. This would fall into that as well. And we certainly, like I mentioned at the beginning, we can post this on the auditor's page and on the procurement page on the website as well.
And like I said, the majority of it, it's just, you know, we could all agree that if you go into an office that has 2 people working in it and they have 5 copy machines, there's waste involved. They don't need to have that to do their job properly. But there's a lot of things that might come up that it's gonna be in the eye of the beholder of, I don't think that they should have bought a new pickup truck, even though the one they replaced was a 1972 model. I look for that to be an issue because of having worked with the public. And so,
Is
Go ahead.
this something you need, like, right away because a grant is requiring it? And
Because we received a desk audit review from the Office of Governor, and it's one of the responses.
Okay, because, I mean, we can, if the court is inclined to approve it, and then I can review it again, and then we can modify it or amend it to include very specific categories as far as vendors, employees, staff, or elected officials, and actually categorize that and do something a little bit more in-depth that meets the different individuals that are going to be subject to this policy. And it can always be amended and changed later to make it more specific if there's a need to get this done for the submission of a grant and it's required.
So how quick do you need it? How fast?
I've already informed the Office of Governor that it was being presented to Commissioners Court today for review. I would just have to ask for extended time and give them a date that you're going to approve it or make any modifications and approve it. I mean, it's a desk monitoring review, so basically what that means is we were audited for the grant that we already have in place. This is in response to their audit.
So where was
We
it?
have to have something implemented. If that's not going to be today, then please provide me the date that you are going to come back with approval and how you want it written so that we can ensure that it gets into the hands of the governor's office.
So we're in the middle of amending a motion. It can be rescinded. We can table it and let Ms. Huron do the modifications to it or whatever needs to be done as quickly as possible. Can we do that?
Sure.
That's a recommendation, Commissioner. I'll have to take that.
And I would add to that, that the other thing is this gonna go into the personnel policy directly as written, or does, whatever we wanna put in the personnel policy, I wanna see it adopted all at the same time? Or I would like to see it adopted all at the same time. You have any, have you seen it? So just include Ms. Bodiford in your review to see how we get it in the personnel policy.
Do you want to rescind your motion?
I'll rescind my motion.
Okay, motion's been rescinded.
I agree with everything in here, but I can see it causing problems down the road.
All right, so it sounds like we're heading toward tabling agenda item number 13.
I'll make a motion to table item number 13 to allow the county attorney time to review and make adjustments with Ms. Trevino and Ms. Bodiford as necessary, with the intention of having this ready for our next court date, May 12th.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Sardola to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, we got a table on that motion, it's not debatable, that's why I didn't ask for any discussion. We move to agenda item number 14, we have one public comment on that. I'm gonna call this gentleman up first, Curtis Osborne. Is that correct, sir? You have the floor.
Morning, my name's Curtis Osborne. I'm here with the Stockton Chamber of Commerce to hopefully answer any questions you'll have on the hot tax that we have applied for.
I read through the application. I guess, Mr. Trevino, how many? Well, y'all
You
don't,
want me
we
to
have.
go first and then let him speak?
Yeah,
Please.
sure. Yeah, that probably would be better. You'll probably answer most of our questions, or some of them anyway.
Okay, we received a, application for hotel occupancy tax funds from the city of Stockdale, Stockdale Chamber of Commerce. This was received on April the 16th, 2025. The purpose of their organization is to provide support for local businesses as well as support for their community. I did provide you a full copy of their application. They are requesting $75,000 from the Wilson County's hotel occupancy tax funds. The way they broke that down is $5,000 for convention center or visitor center information. That falls under the category of construction, improvement, equipment, repairing, operation, and maintenance of their convention center facilities or visitor information. delegates, furnishing of facilities, personnel, and materials for the registration of the convention delegates or registrants. They requested $10,000 for advertising, solicitations, promotional programs related to attract tourists and convention delegates to the municipality or its vicinity. And then $50,000 for promotion of the arts, directly enhancing tourism. And that is for, all of this is for the Watermelon Jubilee. They requested the $5,000 for signage for the Watermelon Jubilee, to assist with the website that will advertise local businesses and hotels. They did have a room block in Stockville at the Stockville Inn and Suites, and they have 7 rooms booked. I'm assuming Friday night and Saturday night, it says 7 rooms each night, so I'm assuming that's for Friday night and Saturday night, and then 4 each night for their sound people, and 6 each night for the rodeo. Last year in 2024, the county assisted them with $60,000, and they do charge admission to the event, $30 pre-sale, 35 day of, and net profits go back to supporting local community needs such as Christmas in the park. And then they broke down their advertising costs on page 8. And they included, yes, so the schedule of events is included on page 9. And you'll see, what I didn't see here, and maybe Mr. Osborne will provide that, but I didn't see any copies of last year's promotion, or even this year's like flyers and advertising for the event. I don't know if it's on their website or anything like that as well. Okay.
Before you leave, what is the current balance in the funds, minus whatever we gave out
Okay.
last time?
So we have $116,060.16 is in the fund balance for Fund 1300. We budgeted, what we budgeted for this year, we budgeted $150,000, and of that, we distributed $70,000, so we have $80,000 in the current budget right now.
Who has not submitted an application?
Judge, the application now is open countywide, so if you're asking me who has not submitted an application of those that we have funded in the past, that would be the Greater Chamber of Livonia and the regular Chamber of Commerce in Livonia.
These applications were open until August, is that correct?
They're open until August or until the funding is
Depleted.
distributed. Mhm. Yeah, and the reason I put August is because that gives us time to work then on the new budget and exhaust whatever funds are budgeted for this fiscal year.
But the 2, Floresville and Stockdale, will exhaust all the funds, right?
Not all of it. They will.
How much?
5,000 short.
$5,000 left?
If, you're saying if you were to approve the request today,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, sir. It would exhaust what was budgeted within $5,000.
I think we should have done something a little different. If we were gonna hold the applications open until August, nothing should have been awarded until all the applications were in at the end of August, and then award accordingly. Not award.
Well, the issue the problem that can arise with that is a lot of these entities depend on this type of funding to host their events, and I believe that the Jubilee is in June. I know the Peanut Festival is in October, the Opry has theirs every month, so we're following the same kind of suit and timeline that the other entities that collect hotel occupancy tax in the city of Floresville does the same thing, the Economic Development Corporation. All of these organizations open it up to the public for their fiscal year, and it's kind of like first come, first serve. You come, to your entity, you request it. This is the first year that we've actually implemented the application process, so that we could open it up to other organizations that put heads in beds. It's up to the court to determine the amounts that are distributed to each of these entities that are requesting funds.
for Livonia, the two entities, how much was that last year combined?
10,000.
Each.
No, I believe it was 5,000 each.
5,000
For a
each.
combination of 10. I
'Cause-
will tell you, when I did the audit for last year's distribution of funds, I did find that both entities did not fall within these categories here based on their response at the audit. They utilized the funds for a one-day event that was a shredding event that did not produce any hotel occupancy, and to which I informed them of that. I also offered to the Greater Chamber to inform us or apply for events that were going to be utilizing hotels, such as their 4th of July event. I believe they have a big name band coming out for this year's 4th of July. Things like that that are going to attract out-of-town guests. I have not received a response. So it's up to each entity. It's open countywide for all kinds of events, rodeo events, sporting events. So it's open to anybody who wants to apply for it. These organizations are the organizations that we have funded in the past and know the process and are jumping on it, for their needs. So I will say I was a little surprised at the request being 75,000 because that wouldn't have, had we not had the application process and Judge and I sat down and budgeted, I would have recommended that we award the same amount that we did last year. So now that we have the application process, they can request any amount and it's up to the court to determine what you feel is fair and reasonable.
How long has that fund balance been established or been at that rate? What's the
Well,
history of it?
It changes, and it could change based on quarterly, because the treasurer's office collects that hotel occupancy tax funds from all of the hotels in the county and has to report that quarterly. So the balance has been really high, and then it gets lower as we distribute funds. That's the only thing those funds can be used for. So as we continue to get more money in every quarter, it just adds on to that balance.
Traditionally, what is the amount collected from the Livonia area?
Oh, that I would know.
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can get that information to you. They do submit theirs. They are on time. I just don't know the number of.
I know the reports that Haley and Christina do a very, very good job at tracking every hotel that we collect the tax from, and that's what we can base off of how we know the percentages of the hotels being used within the county and where, because that helps us determine, like when we're reviewing these types of applications, it helps us determine whether or not the information that they're providing is factual, because we can determine that based on the time period of the occupancy of the hotels during the time of the event, and that's how we can tie it back to the application.
Okay, and what was the amount given to Floresville this year?
70.
The Peanut Festival,
It was
Opry
the
and all
same
of
as
that.
last year.
The same as last
Yes, sir.
year?
They requested the same and you awarded the same this year.
And is that amount already deducted from the fund balance? Have they,
That amount is deducted already out of
Okay.
that.
So-
The 80,000 that's remaining in the budget.
it looks like we're positive by the tune of 26.6 in the fund balance over the budgeted 150,000 that we discussed.
Correct.
So there's still some leeway. I mean, our goal is not to spend every fund balance, but we know that we have some money that is there that is available from the hot funds to give back to the communities to try to take in, put more people into the hotels.
What entity out of Livonia has put in?
They have not.
No one.
No.
But previously, two of the chambers from Livonia had asked for funds.
They didn't ask,
I
we just.
Well, it
We
sounds
just-
like to
right,
me
we
could
gave
make
them-
a budget adjustment if we got, not to go over what the amount that we've received is. Is that correct?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
We certainly would stop the application process if we
Yeah.
don't have enough money in the fund balance. And also keeping in mind that we should stay within what we budgeted the
Well-
fund balance because we want the fund balance there so that we know how to appropriately budget for the
Well,
new fiscal year.
I agree. I mean, and this was kind of an adjustment or change this year.
Mhm.
'Cause, I mean, I agree with what Commissioner Perdola said from the standpoint, it would be nice if everybody made their applications, and we know that we know what's in that bucket, and then we can distribute that to the best as possible to everyone. And the deadline's like, I don't know, whenever it needs to be, March, or well, be, what, June 30th for fiscal year 25, 26. Going forward. That way, everybody knows they've got to think, they're planning those events a year in advance, the big ones that they're
Sure
asking
they
for
are.
money for. So
Mhm.
they can come in and ask, and that gives them plenty of time to plan. If they don't get what they asked for, they have it available to give. I think making that little bit of change would make it a lot better moving forward, because then the deadline's attainable for everyone, knowing that, because they gotta know when their event's gonna be, and, it just gives them an opportunity to plan ahead. Just
And I
like the
believe
big-
you're exactly right. I believe that's why the Floresville Opry already approached the court. Stockdale is approaching the court today. The Peanut Festival approached the court because they know that, hey, once these funds are taken out, if there's not anything left for us, then there's nothing left for us, so.
How much has Stockdale increased their asking this year from,
15,000.
Stockdale was awarded 60,000 last year, so it would be 15.
Yeah, so I see the increase, one of them jumps from 20, almost 24,000, go to 30, and then another 30 to 60. Now we're increased, they're asking for an increase of 50.
You want to let Mr. Osborne address the increase?
Come on up.
Come to the mic, please.
And what we're looking at is, across the board, we've hit about a 30% cost increase. The price of entertainment, price of our rodeo, everything. For those two things alone, it's 77,000 for entertainment and rodeo. This year, or what we're looking at for next year, and not really going anything different on entertainment or anything like that. We're not going after huge stars or anything. But every year, they seem to go up $5,000 to $10,000, even for your mediocre, small-time people. And in order to put people in the park, we have to have appropriate entertainment, stuff like that. The reason we're asking for more is because we have spent another $10,000 adding additional advertising in local towns near us, over-the-road signs. We're pushing, getting advertising for the Jubilee out further to try and bring more people in from out of town.
Commissioner Perdola, just real quick to add, your question was for Livonia.
Yes, ma'am.
They're under, for the calendar year 2024, under 20,000, roughly a little over 18,000. They do quarterly, so you're looking at a little over 4,600 every quarter. They were a little higher. Yeah, they were a little higher from the second quarter, so that's April to June. So to answer your question, that.
well,
And-
I just don't think it's fair to spend all the money in 2 draws and then leave Livonia
And
completely
that's
cut
what I
out.
was gonna say, and if I may,
I will not vote for the Stockdale
the
deal if that's the way
75,000
it's
is
gonna
not a
go.
set number. It was just a number that we put out there projecting our increase in what the cost was over this past
What is
year.
your income? Y'all charge $35 a head. What is your total
In the
income
past, it's
received there?
cost us around 120,000 to 130,000 to put the event on. Now it's 162,000.
No,
So-
my question was, how much
Our,
income do you receive off the $35
this
a
past
head
year,
tickets?
we profited around $12,000. I don't have the exact number, but after paying all the bills, all the advertising, the rental, paying for rodeo, everything, we usually profit a little over $10,000 this past year.
So ticket sales is around $12,000 at
Yes, sir.
$35 a head? And I believe they're the only one that charges for their event. Am I correct?
The Peanut Festival does not charge, the Opry does charge, what is it, $10? I don't know what the Opry charges
It's,
per person.
yeah, like $10 or $12 a head, or
Yeah.
buy a table for 70 or 100 or whatever it is, yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
around in there.
And as far as I understand, the Livonia 4th of July event, which is the only event that I can attribute to hotel occupancy that would be eligible, does not charge an entry fee. Based on their, I haven't spoken to them, but that's based on their information that I can find in research. It's relatively so.
We usually put around, I wanna say, over the weekend, 4,000 people through the park.
4,000 tickets.
And that's during the day, evening, everything. 'Cause there's some that show up and come only to the rodeo or come only to the dance.
Dance.
So,
So not everybody in that four, I think what Commissioner, I was trying to put them out to, I think what Commissioner Cordova was asking, on the ticketed sales, how much is that attributed to what they're getting in terms of the expense or
Right.
their
What,
entertainment
what
that
do they,
they're
draw- how much
requesting
is their
money
$35
from?
a head bringing in?
Yeah, $35 a day, what does that equate to?
that, I don't have that number with me. Our president was supposed to be able to be here, have all that, he was wasn't able to make it. So I'll have to get back with you on the numbers. I think we had it on.
And do we know what the Stockdale hotel occupancy tax?
Just in Stockdale alone, or what, Commissioner is asking how much, hotel occupancy tax is collected in Stockdale?
I'd have to add, because we have the Stockdale Inn and Suites that collects, and then Stockdale,
Motel.
Stockdale Motel, right?
yeah, there's a Stock Inn motel, but that's
Or
not.
Stock.
All that's in town, that will also.
And yes, that's on top, and yeah, if you were to add up, that's eight, all tucked in's not even less than 1,000. And then the Stockdale Inn and Suites, we're looking at, so 20, we're just rounding up really quick, 2,300 roughly. For those two, that I'm just trying to, I don't have it added right here, I can get that for y'all.
That was
putting
just
those
a
in
one for
the
one.
funds. That is, well, that was for the year, the calendar year, so that's for the funds.
Well, I'm just looking for fairness and equity here in this deal. That's what I'm looking for.
That-
I don't think it's fair to award all this money out to two
Or,
entities
yes, so all tucked in.
and
we're gonna
Livonia is
sort of add
bringing in,
this
what, 20,000 a year and get nothing. That's not fair. It's not fair, it's not equitable, in my opinion.
So we know that we need to work on the timing and get it to align maybe a little bit better to where, from the time that it's let till the time that we go, okay, here's the day that we award all the funding, that it comes closer together and we get all the entities together. Is that the way as a court that we want to do it? Because, I mean,
Then we should have put an August deadline.
here's the other side of what you're saying that I want to bring up. What if we get to the end of the time period and neither of the Livonia entities have requested their money, and we could have helped out one of the others that got there first, that got their application in?
Well, and not only that, the August deadline was put in there in place in order to allow any entity within the county to have a full fiscal year to be able to apply.
Apply.
In consideration of the entities that we funded in the past, I took into consideration that Livonia may be applying because the only event that the city of Livonia hosts that could potentially have heads and beds that I'm aware of is their 4th of July event, which the August deadline wouldn't matter anyway. So if they were wanting money to help fund that, which they've already booked and advertised for, I would expect that if they wanted to use the, request money from the court, they would do it before August anyway.
Well, yeah, it'd be pretty soon because, I mean,
July's
the
around the
event's 2
corner,
months
so,
away.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping that, the same thing goes for Pope. We reached out to the city of Pope,
Well, Commissioners, I can entertain a motion, doesn't have to stick to the 75,000, it's whatever someone wants to make a motion at.
I'll make a motion to approve, I've got my glasses on so I can read what this item says. Stockdale Chamber of Commerce distribution of the hotel occupancy tax funds in the amount of $60,000.
I'm sorry, did you say 60,000?
60.
Yes, sir.
The same as last year.
Same as last
Okay,
year.
got it.
Second.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Steen. Do we have any other discussion regarding agenda item number 14 before I call a vote?
I think we've talked about it enough. We're gonna try to take and streamline the plan and, you know, we,
And it would actually make it a lot easier on us if the application was June, July for the next year.
well, get past your festival.
In October 1,
And then we can apply for the next year.
it would open October 1, 2020,
Five.
5.
2025 through September 30th of 2026, or if y'all want me to change the date to June, that's fine too. I mean, it just leaves, you're just cutting off a period for any other entity that may not know that they have to have it in by a certain date.
Right.
And our fiscal year is still going.
My intent in my comment earlier was to have it done by budget time so that it could be put properly placed. The request could be all properly placed. They would know ahead of time, basically, whether we have enough money to pay for it all or not, you know, and it makes it easier for them to plan.
And what makes it challenging for us too, to determine how much we're going to budget for the new fiscal year, determines how much we have in our available fund balance. With what we're distributing now, unless we continue to collect another 150-ish thousand is what our average is per year. Let's say we don't collect 150,000 and now we've drained the fund balance down to 30,000, well, that means we can only budget 30,000 to distribute next year.
And see, and you would have that information if you had it apply from budget time to whatever the deadline is, and then,
To know in
because
advance.
we'll know by the end of the,
Yeah.
you'll have your projection, and, I mean, it won't be exact, but it'll be close.
Right, yes, sir.
Have any other discussion regarding agenda item number 14? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Agenda item number 15, we have one public comment. We have on 15, that's Ms. Ophelia Silva.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Ophelia Silva. I'm born and raised here in Floresville. I've worked the elections for a little over 30 years, and last year was horrible. We had a city election that some of the candidates, I guess, asked for permission if they could hang out in the parking lot. Well, it was a mess. I had a lot of residents calling me, complaining about men urinating behind the barbecue trailer that they had on the parking lot. There was a lot of the women and some men cussing at supporters, using the bathrooms in the city hall, in and out, all day long. They were intimidating voters. They were harassing voters. A lot of the people, the residents, would call me and let me know that they felt very uncomfortable going to vote because of everything that was going on in the parking lot of the courthouse. And I come today to ask if y'all would not allow this to happen. This is very disrespectful to our historical courthouse. I know I have a lot of stories that my dad told me about this courthouse. And I have great respect for it and for anything that happens in our city. So I just come to ask if you would not allow this to happen around our courthouse, to give candidates permission to hang out. And that's all I have to say, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin, this is your subject line. You want to start it off, sir? Because I do have comments myself.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Silva. I appreciate that, I really do. And that was the intent. We did have a situation last year. We want to avoid it again. At this point, no one has come forth and asked this court if they can have permission. So there should not be anybody using that parking lot for anything other than parking tomorrow. So I don't know that we need to take any action, but there may be others that wish to make a comment.
Commissioner Martin, they sometimes don't ask for permission.
And that's true, and there's other ways to handle that. And we, I don't know what'll transpire here. We may have a motion to that effect when we get to the rest of the discussion, but I'd like to hear the rest of the discussion if the judge has some comments.
I do. I have some comments.
I do as well.
I can't believe that I even see this in the city, and if somebody's watching this from the Floresville, the city, and they get upset with me, I don't care. I don't like people being intimidated when they come in to vote, and it is an intimidating factor.
Correct.
I watched videos that we have, and now I want the city to know we have new cameras set up out here to monitor the parking lot. It should only be used for parking, go vote, and leave.
Correct.
I know at some point they could stand out there with a sign and do whatever they want as long as they're 100 feet away from their polling area. But I saw barbecue pits out here, people drinking beer. I saw it on the video.
A lot
I
of
have
it.
been called about this, and I said, I'm not gonna permit that. Commissioner Martin hadn't put it on the agenda yet. I already got, and I'm glad he did, because I wanna talk about it, and I'm gonna say it again. As a former law enforcement officer, having to do investigations of these types, it is an intimidating factor when you do things like that for people that just wanna come in and vote. Now, the silent people are the ones that call me, because they're too scared to come to the public like you are, and I thank you for doing that, to voice their opinion. But it's the most immature thing I've ever seen.
Correct. Very disrespectful to our residents. Some of our residents got cussed. Some of the residents got harassed in front of the city hall. The council voted to have it at Olga's office in the county, and there wasn't 3 votes, because they are very well trained. They go through trainings every year for elections, It's, the person that's running the election right now is not qualified. She does not have enough training, but
I would say you're
They voted.
getting a little bit off subject here. Let's not bring politics into this. This is an issue
I'm
of
not,
voters, okay,
Mr.
please?
Martin,
Yeah,
but
thank
I'm
you.
just saying, if they would have voted to have it at Olga's office, we wouldn't be going through none of this.
Well, I'm with Commissioner Martin and the judge, and this should only be a parking lot to come in, vote, and leave. You should not have any time to stand there, intimidate anybody else. This is county land, and this is where we get the sheriff's department, have a deputy on our place, and the city can get a patrol by as well, but that's this parking lot. You can park in it, vote, and leave, nothing else.
Okay, so another question, Commissioner. Would around the courthouse, would the candidates be able to park there?
where.
City street is city street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The courthouse property,
So it's only in the parking lot?
Don't learn the parking lot.
Okay, that's fine.
Correct.
So if any of the candidates park in the parking lot, who does this get reported to? Because it is on a Saturday.
We'll get with the sheriff on it.
That's where we need to get the sheriff's department and talk to them.
Why don't we just close the courthouse parking lot?
Because we gotta provide,
It's a
we have to
service.
provide them a place to go park to go vote. I mean, I'm not saying we have to, but that's the purpose of it, so they can walk across the street and go vote.
The city doesn't have enough parking.
their parking lot fills up fairly quickly
Well,
with,
it's a Saturday, so I'm pretty sure they can vote, they can park on the side of the city hall. I think that would be appropriate to close off the parking lot.
Well, I'm gonna refer to Evan. Ms. Huron, what do you think about that? If we were to close the parking lot off? Because then we're gonna have people say, well, you have events here all the time that are sanctioned, like Peanut Festival. and-
Yeah, but it's a safety issue, and it's up to the city of Floresville, because it's a city election, to be able to provide parking for individuals that want to park, because there's not enough parking along the street. I mean, sometimes they're held in schools, and there's parking lots in the schools, so the county is not obligated to provide parking for the city. Or there could be security paid for by the city. If you want to use our parking lot, then you need to provide security at that parking lot to make sure that voters are safe and not intimidated, and that 100 yards is met, and that there's no altercations. But that should be the city's responsibility to provide safety for their voters.
Yeah, makes
It's a good
sense.
point,
Good.
yes.
And just so the public knows, we did not allow someone to bring a barbecue pit into the parking lot. They did that on their own. We did not vote to allow that to happen. So that's why I'm suggesting close the parking lot off, because I am not happy about what happened last year at all.
I understand. And it was supposed to have been used only for a small barbecue pit to make hot dogs. They went way overboard because there were so many.
Never should have been allowed, period.
It should happen.
It shouldn't have
Correct,
happened.
because they had ice chests full of beers, mid-street. I mean, it was horrible. It was an embarrassment to our residents and to the city.
I just want to be clear, the commissioners and the judge did not vote to allow that to happen. They did that without our approval.
And one of the things I wanna say, I don't wanna hear from somebody out there that says, well, it's been our tradition. Well, your tradition is wrong.
That is not the tradition.
It is not a tradition.
I've worked the elections over 30 years, and that's not the tradition.
I'll make a motion. We close the parking lot to the courthouse for the city election on May 3rd.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Motion made by Commissioner King, seconded by Commissioner Peridot. Close the parking lot during the elections.
Let's define some hours of that,
Yeah.
because voting hours are different than when people may be there. Part of this happened after election hours.
What time does that close?
Well, polls close at 7,
This all go when? 6 o'clock? 7.
7 to 7.
Start today?
and some of that
7.
happened last year was around 8 or 9 o'clock, maybe as late as 10, I'm
It
trying to
was
remember.
throughout the day, Commissioner.
Yeah, well, the daytime is different, but I want to make sure the parking lot is closed late enough that people that are hanging around, because I know there's after parties and whatever in the general area, I think the intent in closing the parking lot is to allow anybody to gather inside the parking lot.
So I'll amend my motion.
Why would you not
Okay,
carry it
before you
into
amend
Sunday
that,
morning?
I've got a comment. Commissioner brought up a good point. What if the city came to us and said, we'll have a police officer there to make sure the traffic's flowing in and out of the parking lot while they vote, and they keep it going?
This is the last court we have till now, before they vote.
Okay? Thank you.
Well, Mr. Vigno's bringing up a good point too, is the movie theater sometimes overflows into here.
So if you close off the parking lot, you could potentially,
I-
it's just to prevent you guys from another phone call.
Oh, we're gonna get many phone calls.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, they'll probably start as soon as
No,
this
it's
meeting's over.
before
But
I- yeah.
I guess to your point, Judge, I mean, if the city's gonna provide security, then, I mean, that was my whole intent, was to get what hours do we want that there? It certainly needs to be from 7 a.m., but till what time in the evening? Because it'll, like she commented, and we've seen, that some of this happened after the polls closed.
Let's say the day of the election.
Well, we could close it all day if we wanted to.
That's what I just put it as.
That'll stop for after parties and all of that shenanigans that went on last year.
And that's what the motion currently is, May 3rd.
Okay, is that the way you said it? I don't-
Restate your motion.
How about a 24-hour period, 7A to 7A? Start on Saturday and end on Sunday morning.
So my motion was to close the parking lot May 3rd during the elections.
Well, but
That was
during
my
the
motion.
election implies 7 to 7, if you
Okay.
want to get technical, I guess.
Okay, if we don't get technical, my motion is to close the parking lot on May 3rd.
24-hour period.
There's your 24 hours,
Start midnight to midnight.
midnight to midnight.
Got it. All right.
On May 3rd.
Okay, we have amended motion by Commissioner Keenan. Are you seconding that amendment? Commissioner Bruno? All right, we have any other discussion regarding agenda item number 15? Hear none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Ayes have it. Parking lot will be closed that day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners.
Agenda item number 16, we have city staffer or Wilson County Emergency Management discuss and take action on Lipton burn ban.
Good morning. I tried to sneak in y'all's packets, just some information. KDBI was released at 10:30 this morning, so today's KDBI is 5:06, just for informational purposes. I did give you the ranges, so you kind of know what the 500 means. It's the lower litter and dust layers contributed to fire intensity and burn actively. We did a little further research from January 1st to today. The average for Wilson County rainfall is only 3.33 inches. After speaking with Judge, I emailed all of the fire chiefs and asked their opinion. So I gave you a copy of what all the fire chiefs, and I do have 2 chiefs here to answer any of the specific questions. I included the outdoor burning law again. I included the AgriLife extension flyer that we send out. I didn't know if anybody really wanted to read it or not, but I did include the information that Guadalupe County and Bear County sends out on their burn bans. So, the question, I guess, was brought up if we should continue to stay in the burn ban, or if we should lift it in its entirety, or if we should lift it temporarily to allow people to burn. The fire chiefs should definitely be able to chime in on this, but my opinion is, based off of the phone calls that we're getting, people need to burn. The safest time to burn is now. In 2 months, it's not gonna be safe. So if y'all's desire is to let people burn, my opinion is it needs to be done now. A week, 2 weeks, lift it in its entirety, then we can readdress it once the chiefs decide that the burn index is too high. But we are still currently in the burn ban with no burn permits being issued.
Except for ag.
Technically, we're not issuing any permits. If you're true ag exempt for the planting or harvesting of crops, there's no permit required by state, so we can't control what they do.
So we're gonna have winds up to 20-25 miles an hour the next couple of days.
For the next week up to 20, which we could hit red flag, and if are in red flag, it's illegal to burn anytime, burn ban, not burn ban. But then if you look further, Wednesday for the next 7 days is
We have potential rain.
projected rain, you know.
So
We believe that when we see it. and we
Well, that's
predict
with a
it.
big capital P.
Exactly. But if the red bat flag does get issued, it's illegal to burn. I'd also like.
But see, that's part of the problem, is people don't understand when they can burn, when they
When they
can't. I
can't.
mean, I've got people that I've told 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 times, we're in a burn ban. Well, can I burn my doghouse? No, you can't, no. And I mean, know, they just don't understand. And, I hear what you're saying. Last time we tried this, it went bad south. I'm gonna say I am not for lifting the burn ban until we're safe. I'm sorry, I've got stuff, I've had stuff for 3 years at my property that I need to burn. And I would like to burn too, but I am smart enough to know it's really not time to burn. It can get out of control really quick. These people are not attending their fires, they're starting them at night because they think it's safer, and it's not. And it runs the full gamut. And I know, I looked at your deal this morning, I know some of you chiefs say, go ahead and lift it. I just don't think it's in the best interest of the county to do that for the reasons that I stated.
I have a huge pile at my house too, and I don't like looking at it, but I'm scared to light it.
Well, and there's
Well-
still the laws that
So
people
how long
don't follow.
are we gonna wait to let these people burn this stuff? Over in my precinct, we've got trees that are falling down, people got piles and piles of brush. It's gonna
Yeah.
get to the point when they do finally burn, you're gonna burn half the county down.
Chiefs, do y'all wanna, your comment? Now's the time?
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Well, we've had 2 inches of rain in Livonia, the grass is green around there more than it has been in a year. And we're looking at May. What?
Chief Strelzig from ESD five. My opinion with the whole burn ban is that's only keeping honest people honest. The burn ban's not stopping anybody from burning. They're still doing it. And I can honestly tell you almost on a daily basis, I'm hearing these old farmers when we're eating breakfast or lunch, complaining about the burn ban because they can't burn because they need to get rid of this stuff.
Not for the purpose of crops, they're just talking about things that they want to get rid of, a pile.
Stuff they need to get rid of.
Because there's a difference. I mean, the law recognizes the difference, and an inconvenience, trust me, plenty of people look at a pile and it eats on them day after day after day after day. They're wanting to throw that match on it. And if you let the rest of them who, they go, well, we're not in burn ban anymore, start, what type of mess are y'all gonna be in?
I agree with what Cindy said, that now's the time to do it if anybody wants to get it out of the way, because in another month or two, it's
Not
gonna
gonna be
be,
able to.
we're not gonna be able to, and then it may be this time next year before we get the chance to even burn again. I think right now is the time to do it, because the little bit of rain we have gotten has greened everything up enough that it goes back to if everybody uses a little bit of common sense when they go to burn, we shouldn't have any issues, but we all know how that works.
The top's green, but it's 506 still at the KBDI.
Guadalupe County lifted one.
They lifted it for a week last week, and it's already back in place as of today.
Who's that?
They didn't go to the
Guadalupe.
commissioner's court, they just went to the judge, and the fire marshal and the judge had the discussion. They lifted it for a week, and it ended at 8 AM this morning. So they're back in effect.
Chief Lopez?
Chief Lopez, Wilson County District Two. So, just like I had replied to Cindy through my email, at that point in time, if the weather permitted and if the KPI was in that, rating, to allow people to burn, for a couple of days was my recommendation. I definitely see your side of the, y'all's side of everything in the sense of, keeping it on, but similar mindset, if we hold off too long, people are just gonna keep piling brush up, and then when it is time, or allow them to, two things personally are gonna happen, either it's gonna keep building up and they're gonna burn regardless, and then we have a bigger issue, or it's gonna be a very long time before, we see more rain or predicted rainfall from where we're at now to last year, to allow them to burn. So that's just my opinion, in the matter.
If we lift it, we can always put it back on. Just like Guadalupe.
Well, I think to Commissioner King's point, maybe this is not the week to do it yet. Because we've got a lot of, to me, it seems simplest to lift the burn ban when you liable to have 2 or 3 or 4 red flag days, which they shouldn't be burning, which they're going to because they heard it's lifted. I would prefer maybe to look at this again at the next court meeting and see. I don't, if we get a little bit more rain, that's not gonna really change the conditions, but at least maybe by then we won't potentially have any red flag warning.
And also, if we do get the rain, we can also call a meeting special meeting to get it lifted as well.
I'm a little worried about these windy days and,
The winds what concerns me.
The wind is gonna blow in the cold front, the storm, who knows how strong it's gonna be. I would also like to say that, you know, I've been trying to get out public information, it's not going very well, but people don't understand that they're not just burning brush, they're putting stuff in it, they're putting wood, timber, that's illegal to burn anytime. It's illegal to burn at night, anytime, it doesn't matter whether we're in a burn ban. So there's a lot of stuff that people are burning, times that they're burning, that it's illegal any time of the year. So we've got a building problem that, you know, they're going, you know, pallets. We had a guy that wanted to burn a chicken coop. That's illegal. That's construction debris. It's illegal. You can't do it anytime. So then they ask, what do we do with it? Well, you have to demolish it, take it to the collection facility or hire somebody to pull it off. So it's more public education, I think.
Ms. Suzanne? Do you have any idea, would it be possible to get at least a short blurb in the paper for tomorrow? Can you talk to Ms. Stafford and get here's what people are doing that they shouldn't be doing? And just so that they know and understand, I mean, I don't know what the readership is, but again, I believe you're right. It's keeping honest people honest, those that are gonna burn are gonna burn, you know. But if we can't get the information out there, then people that wanna try can't try because they don't know what the rules are.
And people think that it's okay to burn in a subdivision, and it is not. I had someone call me over the weekend and say, well, it'll only be about a 4-hour fire. I said, you can't burn in a subdivision. It's illegal to burn in a subdivision. So that needs to be addressed so that people know it's illegal to burn in a subdivision.
And I can continue to monitor, and I can send y'all bi-weekly updates with the rainfall totals for National Weather Service and what our current KVI is. And I know y'all can look at it yourselves as well, but I don't mind continuing that Excel spreadsheet and sending it out to you. I mean, if y'all don't want to look at it right now.
So do we need to get back together next week?
my suggestion is. we
Table
leave
it to the
we leave
next.
in place, and if the rain is substantial this week and we feel like we need to have a special meeting, we can call that, call the burn ban off. All right, so we'll take no action on this. Agenda item number 17, we have Jim Stewart, County Sheriff, monthly report.
Here. Good morning. I'm Deputy Zachary Garcia with the Wilson County Sheriff's Office. I serve as the Public Information Officer for Sheriff Jim Stewart. So I'm just gonna start reading off numbers. This is March 2025 numbers. The total reportable calls for the month are 541. That's an 86 increase from the previous month. Non-reportable calls for the month were 1,400, or 1,460. That is a 296 increase. The total calls for the month, reportable and non-reportable, were 2,001. That is 381 increase. Livestock calls for the month of March was 89. That is a 40 increase. Animal complaints are down from last month. They're at 26. That's a 15 number deficit. Mental health calls are up. That's 18 for the month. And burn ban calls for the month. Last month they were at 8. Or in February they were at 8. In March they're at 20. Number of on-call arrests were 27. On-site arrests 18. Arrest reports 44. Security checks 178. Patrol buys 798. Traffic and code enforcement calls 535. That is an increase by 153 points from the previous month. Traffic citations for the month of March was 88. That's an increase by 45 points. Misdemeanor citations 6. Burn ban citations 3. Animal complaints 5. Livestock citations 1. Traffic warnings for the month of March 471. That is a 105-point increase. Misdemeanor warnings 13. Burn ban warnings 8. Animal complaints 0. Livestock warnings 3. If you add all those up, the traffic stops were 559 stops for the month of March. Criminal Investigation Division stats. Cases closed, 21. Total cases, 80. Sent to juvenile probation, 0. Sent to county attorney, 20. Sent to district attorney, 38. Cases cleared by arrest, 0. Unfounded to pending further investigation, 60. Out of jurisdiction, 3. The next page is criminal interdiction stats. This month we had a 3-day operation in Wilson County. Felony arrest, 40. Misdemeanor arrest, 34. Traffic stops, 370. That brings interdiction and patrol to 922 stops for the month. The interdiction unit assisted patrol with 14 calls. The total arrest between patrol and interdiction is 118. Weapons seized, 8. Vehicles recovered, 3. Vehicle seized, 0. Grant operated days out of county, 0. Grant operated days in the county, 3. Undocumented IAs to border patrol, 4. Next page, narcotic seized, methamphetamines, 13.83 grams. Marijuana, 13.4 grams. THC, 21.5 ounces. Heroin, 0. MDMA grams, 0. Cocaine, 1.9 grams. Mushrooms, 0. Fentanyl, 0. Next page is jail stats. Inmates housed, 3,779. Inmates housed daily, 122. Wilson County intake total, 90. Wilson intake daily average intake is 3. United States Marshal Service inmates housed, 11. The fees from the marshals is $29,610. We are also housing inmates from Gonzales County, which is at 7 inmates, and we collected $12,840 from Gonzales County. The new page for this month is going to be the courthouse security stats. They drove a total of 6,507 miles. They took 11 calls that were reportable and 39 calls that were non-reportable. They did 35 transports in the county, which means from the sheriff's office to the either district or county courthouse. We did 27 transports out of county. They did 2 mental health calls and 2 arrest warrants. And that is the stats for March. All right.
You're a new face. Have you been here for a while?
I've been here for 2.5 years. I came from Goliad County.
You must have been hidden in graveyard or something.
They have to hide my pretty face.
And by the way, are you the one that designed the Facebook page weekly or daily?
So that is my partner, Scotty, Deputy Scotty. She does
Good
all
job.
this work.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank you.
like looking at that. Thank you.
He left before we could ask questions. You have watched the sheriff in action. He wants to get away too.
Agenda item number 18 is Don Plaza Barnett, our ancestor collector report that she just had. Where's the money? Okay. Give you a few minutes, take a look at that. Okay, Commissioner, we'll move on to agenda item number 19, Christine Luke, County Treasurer, discuss take action on County Treasurer's financial report.
Good morning, well, good afternoon. Almost right. Yes, that's the original. So what you have in your language commissioners today is, of course, March report, monthly report, as well as the quarterly investment reports. And it was emailed to everybody on Friday, so if you had time to look over it, if you have any questions, obviously the report stays the same every time as far as the listing of it. So again, our checking accounts shows the beginning balance of March with any of our debits and credits, then the ending balance. Followed by our CDs that we have. Next page will be our investments listed. You will see the investment, or the interest rate did drop a little bit again, but it's still holding steady in the fours. Followed by outstanding debts. And then the last two pages are where I list or give to y'all for the month of March, the funds that we have, again, the debits and the credits coming out for just the month of March on each individual funds. I don't want to get in the way of anybody's lunch, I'll talk fast.
We get a weekly update that talks about bills that are going to be presented, and it looks like there's one that may address how we do investing at the county level. And I believe that it's going to read out that we must invest in only Texas class, which it looks like we're doing a bunch of these, and no other investment accounts. Just, I don't know if you've heard that, because
We did have a Region 7 meeting, and one of our spokesmen was there, was Textpool, and he did talk about that. So until that time comes, they are wanting to pass where it's gonna be strictly one of those. Obviously, they don't know, of course, who spoke was Textpool, so they would like it to be that. But as of right now, yes, I have heard of that.
Okay.
We'll just see. I'm not gonna lie, we do have most of our stuff in Texas class, as it is anyways. Their interest rate is higher, by a little bit.
and I could be wrong, it could be Textpool. They both start with Tex.
Yeah.
And so I know that somebody is trying to position themselves to be the only depository for county funds.
Correct, you are correct on that. So they're both great, they really are, they're easy to work with. I don't like the idea, because obviously you wanna diversify your funds and have them in multiple ones, that's what helps out, and options, but we'll see when that time comes.
Okay.
Yes. And then also, if there's no more questions on the month report, you will see on the quarterly investment report, and that's just an overview of what, obviously, the last 3 months of what I've been reporting. It does list just the interest on those. So I do start with our investment accounts, and you will see the interest earned between those 3 months. Listed right underneath that is what our interest rates were for January, February, and March. For Textpool, Texas Class, and the FNC account, as well as our CDs that are in our bank at South Trust, and then followed by the checking accounts. What our interest rate is, obviously any credits and debits, and then the interest rate that we earn, or the interest earned on those accounts, leaving us with the ending balance from the end of March of 2025 this year. And at the very bottom, it does total our interest, but that's throughout all accounts. Just a grand total. Again, if anybody has any questions on the investment reports or any.
Commissioners, will entertain a motion to the county treasurer fund.
Make a motion that we accept the report as given by the county treasurer. As
Motion made by
reported.
Commissioner Aiken, seconded by Commissioner Cordova. Any other discussion regarding agenda item number 19? Here none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, have it, motion passes. Thank you, ma'am.
April 8th. Erica Casanova was hired as a custodian, making $20.33 per hour, $42,271.20 annually, effective April 9th. Justin Lopez was hired as a patrol deputy for the Sheriff's Department, making $25.33 per hour, $55,326.32 annually, effective April 15th. Luis Rodriguez was hired as a corrections officer for the Sheriff's Department, making $20.53 per hour, or $44,843.12 annually, effective April 21st. Serena Sanchez was hired as a dispatcher for the Sheriff's Department, making $20.92 per hour, or $43,498.40 annually, effective April 21st. Brian Zerzombeck was hired as a part-time seasonal deputy for the Sheriff's Department, making $20 per hour, effective April 21st. Stephen Orr is being promoted to patrol lieutenant for the Sheriff's Department, making $76,118 annually, effective May 1st. And Patrick Reynolds is being promoted to administrative lieutenant for the Sheriff's Department, making $76,118 annually, effective May 1st.
Any questions of Ms. Waterman? Thank you. Agenda item number 21, Brenda Trevino, County Auditor, discuss take action on county bills.
I have the total, figure total, $299,860.79.
You want to get it to the sheriff? His co- Just not the small print.
The same person had 2 autopsies and 2 burials? Ray Fernandez, autopsy and burial. Ray Fernandez, autopsy and burial.
Doctor, medical examiner's name. I was going, I missed that.
Sorry.
No, no problem.
Just asking. Now I know.
I was like, if there's a
And I see-
mistake, please let me know.
I see MD in there, so.
Yeah.
I think this was one of our lowest. I think this was one of our lowest. No, it was mine.
This is the most recent, did you just print? Yeah, this one's the most recent, so 299, 860.79 is the correct. Thank you.
So yes, I am last about that KCI bill
I thought you were, so I
for
brought it.
$10,000.
No, it's in the subdivision, subdivision one. Amanda said that you had reviewed it. No, I don't mind it actually.
This was from March 19th.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner,
Commissioner Martin has, but it's only for $862, so where'd the other 10,000 come from? So,
so whatever this 8,065 project Frank Jaster design, Congraph, project
Wait a minute,
engineer.
if it's something on the design itself, like mine, they might have got it in the wrong place. Oh, no, that's subdivision review, that should be Lisa's.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
I thought so, that's what,
But, let's see. Let's see what it says back here. Let's see. His, so, under here, so Doug DeChizio, he's right here. So he's, actually, the first one
Ever.
is really mine, the other two are,
Because the fuel company got them in at the end, and we haven't gotten a new invoice for the new delivery.
then
But I'm interested,
Tom,
because I thought the invoice was gonna be underneath the development, because usually if it's one of us, it comes to us, and we have to approve it, and it ends up being in our invoicing.
KCI,
And
the
so,
one that for 10,000 for the.
if you're saying it's not hers and they're looking at it and it's not ours, because I haven't had to use KCI in anything in 9 months probably.
somebody sent it out. Oh, I know, Amanda sent it out.
Yeah.
And she
Amanda,
said,
sent it. She sent it to you and Gary. Let me see. Is there an email with that? Commissioner Martin. Yeah, okay, never mind, I didn't see the email. Thank you. Here, you can have the pack, you approved it. No, it's the invoice that's included in this month, in this round of bills. Okay, so, yes, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Precinct 1 charges, yes, and then Lou says she's reviewed all the charges and they all check off. So I'm assuming she is. I don't know if you want to ask her, I don't know.
well, I mean, we had an email saying she approved them, but, because that was on subdivision review of County Road 124, Stonecrest, 124, subdivision regulations, Hidden Ranch, 87 solar substation, Stonecrest. So. I didn't see it, I mean, whenever I saw that, I was just questioning that.
So it's good to go?
Yeah.
All right, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to take action on the county.
Motion that we accept the bills in the amount of $299,860.79 as presented by the auditor.
Motion made by Commissioner Aiken, second by Commissioner Freddo. Add any other discussion regarding agenda item number 21? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
Motion made by Commissioner King, second by Commissioner Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.